I am going to show you how to do a multi-step ratio table. I'm also going to include some really large numbers, just like we dealt with before with the people on the phones. Now the key is that they always include at least 3 numbers in the problem, but the order that you set it up may not be obvious, so definitely pay attention to the units and what the question is asking you to do. Example 1, we see that after using 12 gallons of gas, you find that you traveled 294 miles. How far would you expect to travel on 14 gallons of gas? Now, because it doesn't specify miles per gallon, even though it's what we're looking at, it doesn't really matter the order that you set it up. So I'm going to put gallons on top and miles on the bottom. And I'll show you later why it doesn't make a difference. So I see that 12 gallons of gas, it specifically tells me that that matches up with 294 miles. So I know those two numbers are going to go together in a ratio. So 12 goes with gallons, and 294 is my miles. They're not always going to say them in order that way, so make sure you're paying attention. Now, what is my goal? What am I trying to get to? I'm trying to get to 14 gallons of gas. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't know how to get from 12 to 14 in any sort of multiplicative way. So I'm just going to put it down at the end. 14 gallons of gas. And I need to figure out what goes below it. So I need to find a way to get from 12 to 14. 12 and 14 are both kind of ugly numbers, but I know that 1 is my best friend. So if I can find a way to get from one thing to 1, I can get from 1 to anything else. So if I find 1 gallon, I can get my answer. So I'm going to do 12 divided by 12 to get my 1, and 294 divided by 12, same thing on top and bottom, and I'm going to get 24.5. And don't worry, I did that in my calculator, not in my head. So right now I know that on 1 gallon, I can go 24.5 miles. That's 24.5 miles per gallon. But it doesn't answer the question. Still need to find out how far I can go on 14 gallons. So I'm going to do 1 times 14. Same thing on the bottom. 24.5 times 14. Again, I'm using my calculator, and I get 343. So that's my answer. 343 miles on 14 gallons. Next problem. This one's worded a little differently. Now we see that there are 24 goldfish in the fish tank. But it doesn't tell us what matches up with that, so I'm going to keep reading. You know that there is an average of 3 goldfish for every 8 fish in the tank. So that means that the 3 and the 8 go together. So I'm actually going to deal with those first. So I have goldfish, and I have fish in the tank. So let's go with T for tank. 3 goldfish matches up with 8 in the tank. I need to get to 24 goldfish in the fish tank. So that means that I'm going to have 24 goldfish up here. Well, that's weird. How am I going to get from 3 to 24? Well, some of you may automatically see that 3 times 8 is 24, and you might be able to solve the problem that way. But if you didn't already see it, that's okay, because here's what you can do. You can go to 1 goldfish. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 8 divided by 3, and my calculator is going to give me 2.6666, a whole ton of sixes, so just keep on going forever. Now normally I would let you round, because the problem's not done. I recommend that you not round yet, and you don't even figure out your calculator. So whatever ugliness is in your calculator, just leave it there. So now I need to get from 1 to 24. So I do 1 times 24, and then that ugly 2.6 repeating times 24. And since I left that in my calculator, I just type times 24, and I get my answer of 64. So that means that if I have 24 goldfish in the tank, that means I have 64 fish total in the tank. So this one was actually different because they mentioned what my goal was at the beginning instead of at the end. So you definitely have to pay attention to the order that they say the numbers and the words and put the correct numbers together. Here's where problems start to get difficult. In Brazil, we have 176 million people, and there are 317 TVs for every 1,000 citizens. How many TVs are in Brazil? And again, it mentions the amount of people in Brazil, but since it's asking for the number of TVs in Brazil, clearly 176 million is my goal. So the other two numbers are the ones that go together. So the 317 TVs is going to go with the 1,000 citizens. So I'm going to set up my ratio table. The order doesn't really matter. I can do TVs on top, people on the bottom. It doesn't make a difference. So I'm going to do 317 TVs matches up with 1,000 citizens. Citizens is just another name for people. So they're just saying people. I'm trying to get to this big, ugly number, 176 million people. So I'm going to put that down here at the end because that's my goal. I'm trying to get from 1,000 to this really ugly number. So my stopping point is always going to be 1. It's the easiest way to get there. So if I do 1,000 divided by 1,000, I'll get 1. And if I do 317 divided by 1,000, I'm going to get 0.317. But I still need to get an ugly number. So I need to multiply both top and bottom by 176 million. When I do that in my calculator, obviously, I'm going to get 55,792,000. So that's how many TVs are in Brazil. So notice, not only did I have to deal with big numbers, but the question was also worded in a different order. So when I set up my ratio table for multiple steps, it was a lot harder to do. Again, make sure you're paying attention to what your goal is and what are the two numbers that actually go together. In this case, 317 with the 1,000 and the 176 million goal. Now I want you to try it. I want you to pause and copy down these two problems. The first one, in Canada, there are 31.8 million people and 708 TVs for every 1,000 citizens. France has about 59.7 million people and 606 TVs for every 1,000 citizens. Which country has more TVs? So for this problem, you are going to need to solve both of them using a multi-step ratio table and then compare the number of TVs. So it's actually several steps this time around. So again, pause the video and solve these two problems. In a moment, I'm going to have you move on to the next step so you can check to see if you have the right answer. Okay, it's time to check our answers. We know that in Canada, there are 31.9 million people, but it does not tell me the number of TVs that matches up with that, so I can't do anything with that number yet. That's obviously my goal. But we do know that there are 708 TVs for every 1,000 citizens. So I'm going to do my TVs on top, and my people on the bottom, and I see that there are 708 TVs for 1,000 people. Now I can add in my goal. My goal is 31.9 million people. So on the bottom. And I remember from before that that's basically 31 million and some change. So 31 million followed by the 9 and my 0 placeholders. I'm going to go to my best friend 1. 1,000 divided by 1,000. It's going to give me 1. 708 divided by 1,000. It's going to give me 0.708. Then I need to multiply from my 1 to my ugly number. So 1 times 31,900,000. And then 0.708 times 31,900,000. Again, doing the same on the top and the bottom. And for this one, I end up with 22,514,000. 18,400. That's how many TVs Canada has. We have to figure out France still in order to get the answer to the problem. So again, we set up our TVs and our people. When you read the problem, you see that France has about 59.7 million people. It does not tell you the number of TVs, so that's clearly the goal. And then we see that 606 TVs matches up with 1,000 citizens. So 606, and then 1,000. Then my goal, 59,700,000. And you guessed it, go to our best friend 1. So I'm doing 1,000 divided by 1,000, and 606 divided by 1,000, which gave me 0.606. I'm going to multiply both top and bottom by 59,700,000, which of course I'm doing in my calculator because doing that in my head is not going to happen very quickly. And I'm going to get 36,178,200 TVs. So finally I can compare them. And I see that Canada only had a little over 22 million TVs, about 22 million and a half. But France has a little over 36 million TVs. So France clearly has more TVs. So they're the winner. Hopefully you got both of those questions right. If you didn't, definitely check in with me so I can figure out where you're making your mistakes. Have a great day and good luck.